Hello and welcome to this podcast series, Day in the Life of an Actuary, brought to you by the Monash Actuarial Student Society. Just a little disclaimer before we start. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the speakers only and do not necessarily reflect the views of Monash University or our sponsor firms.
Yeah, so this episode is a part of a podcast series where we will be sitting down and having conversations with representatives from our sponsor firms to give you, our actuarial student members, insight on many important topics from university experience, internship and graduate applications to the actuarial industry and work of an actuary.
Yeah. My name is Chelsea and I am the sponsorship director for MAS in 2020.
So I'm Jess, I'm the Vice President of MAS, and today for our second episode, we are delighted to be joined by Jordan Forrest and Clemance actuarial consultants of KPMG.
Yep. So to start off, Jordan and Clemance, why don't you give us an introduction about yourselves to our student members who want to know more about you?
Sure. So I'm Jordan and I am a senior consultant at KPMG in the Life Actuarial department. I've been there for 3 years and I studied at Monash University a few years ago. I am working from home at the moment due to the coronavirus and enjoying not having to commute into work, which takes about an hour and a half each way because we're in the city and I'm down in Frankston. So
wow,
enjoying the extra sleeping.
Do you feel like you have more time for your hobbies and interests now? Or
definitely.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, it's good.
So
more
what about
time to study and everything? Yeah.
That's great. What about you, Clemance? Can you share us a little bit about yourself?
I'm a consultant in the Life team as well. I studied at Monash University, graduated end of 2017, so I've been at KPMG just over 2 years now. I've also been working from home this is my 8th week. I'm still surviving, still there. But yeah, it's nice too. I get more sleep, and I haven't really been studying. But I've told myself I'll start soon.
That's good to hear. Are you all taking exams, the actuarial exams?
Yeah, so I'll part because Jordan and I are studying the same subject, but our exams were deferred, so we've had a bit more time on our hands. Well, I have anyway. Don't know about Jordan.
Okay, I see.
So have you guys been undertaking, picking up any new hobbies since quarantine began?
A bit more exercise.
Yeah.
Getting home later, it's harder to go for a run or anything like that. But I've got a bit more time after work now to exercise and do a bit more cooking and things like that. Yeah.
What about you, Clemance?
That's true. More time to exercise, but also lots more time to eat. I have been cooking a bit more. Been baking a bit. Sort of pick up my baking skills and improve on them. But yeah, there's just lots of time on my hands, and it's sort of weird to have this much time. Don't know what to do with it.
That's amazing. Yep. So I know that you both graduated from Monash 3 or 4 years ago, right? And what were your university's years like, and any favorite memories from your time at uni?
Yes, so I was at Monash for 3 years, did a Bachelor of Commerce there. So I really enjoyed those years. It went quickly, but it was really enjoyable. So I go in, I think, about 3 days a week, and it was good to balance that with part-time work and study and things like that. So definitely enjoyed the longer holidays. So everyone enjoy that now while you can. While you,
Good advice.
Summer break and everything like that. So that's probably the biggest thing I miss is that time off and seeing university friends every day, a lot more often. Yeah.
Yeah. So a big part of your uni years was actually with your part-time job, right?
Yeah.
Did you have
I
any
worked
other...
at Bunnings for all through uni, so not really aligned to actuarial, but we might get into that later. Definitely some skills that you learn in a retail part-time job like that is definitely transferable to the work that we do now. So.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I think any experience, regardless of where it is from is valuable. So you don't have to be part of clubs or things like that to actually gain those transferable skills. So what about you, Clemance?
So I was at uni at the same time as Jordan. I never met him. So I was at uni for an extra because I did double degrees. So I was at uni for 4 years. I think the most enjoyable experience for me was I also did join like clubs and just, I guess, try and get involved in uni in extracurricular activities, and I had lots of fun. I met a lot of people, and so yeah, hanging out with friends, meeting a lot of people. I was at uni a bit more than 3 days, but yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I do miss uni because I remember in my 4th year, a lot of my friends had already graduated, so I was like, I really want to get out of uni. I can't wait to finish uni. But like looking back, I'm like, you're not really going to experience that time again. So enjoy while it lasts.
Yeah. Absolutely. So looking back on your university life, so how do you think these experiences helped you succeed in the competitive graduate role application process?
Yeah, so I guess maybe to touch back on with the point about part-time jobs and things like that, I think working at a retail job like mine helped me with personal skills, talking to people, and definitely in the interview process when it got to the stages of having face-to-face interviews or group interviews. I think that's really helpful, and also having that experience on a resume where you can show that you've worked for a number of years, or you've been able to develop other skills through work is really important. There's a lot of variety of roles that you could take up, or jobs that you could take up, whether that be a retail job like what I did, or maybe you, I don't know, a swimming coach, or you're doing some tutoring and things like that. There's always skills that you can take out of that work that you've done and then bring it into, say, an interview experience that you might have, or putting on a resume and bringing it to being able to pull out experiences that you learned from part-time work that'll be a good look on your resume.
Yeah. So the part-time job at Bunnings was a really big part of your uni years. But how did you go about like demonstrating the skills and knowledge you learned from that job to the future employers? Like, what were the opportunities for you to demonstrate that?
Yeah, so I think working in my job, there's always things that you would come up with a question, you get asked and you just don't really know the answer to, but you still got to work through it. Whether that's someone asking how to, I don't know, put together a bunny rabbit cage or something like that. I have no idea how to do that. But then you work through that problem with the customer, walking down different aisles and grabbing different things, or asking someone else, one of the team members that maybe works in a different department, and they can help you. Yeah. And that's basically what we're doing now in my job at KPMG. We get a problem, we don't know what the solution is straight away. We've got to work through it, and we've got to sort of sit down with maybe other members of our team. What have other people done in the past that we can glean from those roles and experiences and bring to this current problem, and just work together and try and get a solution for this client that we work for, which is this sort of basically the same premise as what it is for a customer that walks into Bunnings who needs to knock down a wall or something.
So it's like a lot of problem-solving skills and people skills, and that can be applied to the job you're doing now then.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
How about you, Clemance?
I definitely agree with what Jordan's saying. I remember once I went to a networking session and the lady said, any job is better than no job. So like, even if you work at McDonald's, you get to learn so many different skills.
Absolutely.
And I really do think everyone probably have similar technical skills coming out of uni, but it's just soft skills that sets you apart, I think. So I talked about my extracurricular stuff at uni, so I'll go back to that. So I did a bit of committee work as well, same as you guys. And I found that those kind of experiences, going to networking stuff, it builds on your industry knowledge. You learn a lot more about your industry out there, what it's like to, I guess, what jobs there are out there, what it will be like when you graduate, because when you graduate, that's what you're looking for. And so and the more you go, the more you. So I think a lot of people ask like, what kind of questions should I ask? But the more you go, the more knowledge you get, and it's like the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know, and then so you'll have questions to ask. So I guess putting yourself out there and being able to try and being comfortable in like working with people, being in crowds, like that's kind of stuff you don't really learn in the classroom. So I definitely think that just go beyond bookwork and try and get involved, and it's also lots of fun. So definitely something to consider.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely, yeah.
Do you think any of your particular experience help you stand out as a candidate in such a competitive process?
I think the biggest thing you can learn is just how to present yourself, being confident in your own abilities, and also having lots of different examples, like because you'll get the same questions, I guess, in your application process, and having, I guess, good stories to not just display like your skills or sort of like give an example of like how when I displayed this attribute, but also having really interesting stories to have good conversations with whoever, the recruiter or whatever. I think is nice.
Yeah. So I think the biggest takeaway is just be committed to the things that you put your time in, and then you'll have interesting stories to tell, right? Yeah. Good advice.
Yeah, and definitely develop soft skills as well.
Yep.
I think is the biggest one.
So Jordan and Clemance, why did you apply to KPMG, and in particular their actuarial department? And how did you make these decisions yourselves?
Yep. So I during my third year started applying for graduate positions, KPMG being one of them, and I sort of had an idea. Obviously, I wanted to do actuarial, having studied that. There was a range of sort of positions you could apply for. There's the consultant sort of side of it, which is where I'm working now, and which is what my preference sort of was. You can also work for, say, insurer and actually be on that side. And it's the work, while you're still doing fundamentally the same thing, it's slightly different. So consultant is maybe a bit more varied the type of work you're doing, and it's maybe not as predictable, and that was sort of what appealed to me. So that's why I applied for KPMG and similar firms like the other consulting firms. So that was sort of where I wanted to be. I still applied for the other positions because at the main high level I wanted to be an actuary, so I applied to all of them, but lucky enough to land at KPMG, which is where I wanted to be.
Yeah. So what was the biggest reason that helped you make up your mind about this? Like meeting people at networking events, or just participating in companies' programs for uni students?
Yeah, I think the networking events and things like that actually helped, because you would talk to the different sponsors and get an idea of what they would do in their day-to-day work, and you sort of get a feeling of, is that what I can see myself doing? Is that what I would enjoy doing? And maybe compare that to another sponsor and what their sort of daily work is like. And I think that's definitely a good point you raised. That definitely helps.
Yeah. Is it any difference for you, Clemance?
I agree. So I think I had a preference towards consulting as well, because the variety that comes with consulting is something that appeals to me. Doing like learning lots of different skills, doing different projects. It's quite exciting. And yeah, I think as John was saying, going to different networking events and talking to people, you kind of have like an idea of what it's like, a little bit. And I personally, so I started applying to things like even in my first year. So a lot of the Big Four or bigger firms will have like first year programs. So I actually did a first year program at KPMG and I really enjoyed it.
That's great.
And yeah, and I think in general, KPMG, we have one of the larger actuarial consulting teams out there, and like, so because it's such a large team, we get so much, like there's a depth of knowledge and experience there, and so we get to like get exposed to lots of different jobs and lots of variety, so I really enjoy that.
Oh yeah, so you took the initiative right from your first year. to learn about the industry, right?
And the more you apply, the more practice you get and the better you get at it.
Did you fail a lot during the process?
Sorry?
Did you fail a lot during those applications?
Yeah, like you definitely get rejected heaps of times, and I mean that's not nice, but you do learn from it, and the better you get, the more comfortable you are, and the bigger chance you have.
Yeah, that's inspiring.
That's true. So why actuarial science? So what interests you guys in becoming an actuary?
I was good at maths in school, but I also liked like economics and business, that sort of side of things. And I didn't really know what an actuary was until I sort of stumbled across it and saw that it was sort of a blend of those two. And I looked into it a bit further and thought, hey, this is something I could do. And then that's what I did. I enjoyed it through uni, and here I am today. So yeah, it was pretty much a blend of a couple of interests that I had, and it sort of seemed to suit me. So that's where I went. That's where I went. Yeah.
Yeah. So what aspects of the industry or the work of an actuary do you find interesting now that you're working as an actuary right now?
The industry is changing a lot at the moment, and so it's very dynamic, and you've got to be on top of a lot of the changes going on. So it's good for someone at my level because I don't have any sort of preconceived ideas of what things should be like. I'm just sort of learning as I go, and there's so much to learn at the moment that there's never really a dull moment. You're always learning, especially at this stage.
Yeah, that brings me back to the Monash motto, Ancora Impero. You're still learning.
Never stop learning, really. So what about you, Clemance? So why actuarial science?
I guess my story is slightly similar to Jordan's. So I guess I was okay at maths at high school. And actually one of my best friends, her sister is an actuary, and she was always like, oh, since you like maths, like you should be an actuary too. But I had no idea what that was. So when I graduated uni, I did enroll for commerce, and a part of doing a general commerce degree, you do all like the 6 core subjects. I don't know if it's still 6, but like, you do like management, marketing, economics, etc., etc. I didn't really love any of the core, and so I was like, you know what, since I like numbers, I'll give actuarial a shot. And so I made that my major, and I did enjoy it. And now that I'm working in actuarial consulting, I think, well, first of all, like it is a respected profession. And second of all, it's challenging. Like you're always challenging yourself. You're always learning. It's not easy. And to be like a qualified actuary, you have to work your ass off. So it's something I think that you can be proud of. And yeah, it's something that you'll always be learning. Like you'll never like stop at one place and be comfortable. You keep challenging yourself. And I think that's exciting.
That's definitely amazing. So on the topic of work, can you tell us what an average day is like for you at KPMG?
Yeah, so it's not really an average day. All days are sort of different. I'll generally have a few projects on the go at any given time. So there's a lot of prioritizing my time, what is due, say, at the end of today, at the end of the next couple of hours, at the end of this week, and trying to prioritize my time and work on the most important things first. And that's definitely a big aspect of it, because as part of the consulting work, you are doing works for different clients at different points in time, and looking ahead to what work's coming in and whether you're going to be available to work on that. So a lot of it is managing your time like that. Different jobs, a whole lot of different jobs. So I might be working on some traditional sort of actuarial work for an actuarial client that we have. So we do work where we are the appointed actuary for companies. So they don't have an actuary in-house, and we do that work for them. So that's one of the types of work that I might be doing. Another time, on the same day, even I'll be doing some remediation work for a client, or just something completely off the wall that you might not think of, that there's actuarial that we have the sort of skill sets and knowledge base that we can apply to these problems and work through this. So that's not really a clear answer, but there isn't
Yeah.
really a clear day. Yeah, for me, it's it's always different, but it's always full of work.
Yeah. So given the unpredictable nature of the work, did you expect all of this before taking on the role?
To a degree, I knew that would be sort of not the same tasks done each day, and that's what I enjoyed. So something sort of new each day, progressing on a project. So it's what I really enjoy is being on a project, working with a team, and you're sort of on it from start to finish, and you can see the whole process go from the end, and you feel like when you get to the end that you know this work back to front, you know the piece of work just as well as the client does, and you're able to answer all their questions, and you're able to communicate to your directors and associate directors and partners your thoughts and your sort of thinking around problems, and sort of being part of that team and seeing a job from start to finish, I think is really rewarding and something that appealed to me about consulting work. But I sort of had an idea of what it would be like, but it is different in practice when you're doing it.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Is it the same story for you, Clemance? What are the types of work that you normally do?
So I guess for me, it is similar, and there are days where I might like rock up in the morning and actually have no idea what I'll be doing for the day. It keeps you on your toes. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of variety, and I'm doing different things every day. Like one day I might be spending time on Excel trying to like investigate data. I might be building a model, and then the next day I might be like answering client like emails coming through. The next day might be like building like a dashboard, like doing completely different jobs. And it is a lot of multitasking sometimes. Like you have different things coming through, and as Jordan said, you have to prioritize like which one is like more urgent, when is the deadlines due. I think what I was if I was expecting it or not, I think it's a slightly different mindset from high school, because at uni, like you sort of like, these are the subjects that you're doing, these are the learning objectives, and then you'll be doing this. At work it's not really like that. You sort of like get thrown into things sometimes, and you just keep on going, and then things come at you left and right, and you're like, oh, what's going on? And you sort of learn sometimes as you go. So it definitely keeps you on your toes, and it's not always clear cut at the very beginning what you'll be doing. It's a very dynamic environment at work.
Yeah, I totally get it. And then some days you wake up with a podcast to record, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And what do you think are some of the things that helps you adapt to that kind of unexpected nature of the work? Like what tools or like what advice you got from your fellow employees that help you adapt to this?
I think it's sort of learning on the job. So as you go, you're working out how best to communicate with different people of your team. So when you start working with someone in your team, maybe they might prefer you touch base a little bit more often than someone else, or you sort of get an idea of how different people work and how you can best fit within each one of the teams and jobs. So I think definitely just asking questions, not holding back. If you're unsure about something, just reach out and just ask. I have found that to be the best way to go, because it sort of saves time with you trying to work it out and then thinking, oh, I can work this out, it's fine. But people are more than happy just to help out and just answer, and then you learn how they want to, how they look at different problems, and that's what I've how I've sort of gone about learning that.
Yeah, I agree. Like just, I guess, don't be scared of asking questions. Everyone is very approachable and happy to answer questions. I think at uni you sort of develop a mindset, I have to like try myself, or like if I ask people might not give me answers, or I have to book a time with the tutor. People are very approachable at work, and it's definitely just ask if you don't know.
Yeah, and I feel like some of this also stems back from, I guess, like part-time work and whatnot, don't you reckon? Or like learning these skills. Yeah.
I agree.
So what are some of the most exciting actuarial projects you've worked on at KPMG or in your past internships?
Clemance has an exciting one. I think you can.
Do I? So at the moment, I am working on an industry-wide data collection project. So we're collecting data from a lot of large, small and large life insurers in Australia. So at the start, so there's a lot of data going around. And then after that, we take the data and we're doing an experience investigation on that data. So basically, sort of like, what is the industry? How many claims did the industry expect to receive, and how many claims did they actually receive? And having a look at that, and then eventually we're going to take that data and we're going to graduate that into graduate tables. So if you remember that orange book you might have had at uni,
Yeah.
the life tables,
Yeah.
we're doing something similar and creating new tables. Not life tables, but something along those lines. So it's like it's a very it's been a long-term project, and there's lots of moving parts, a lot of data to work through and look at, but it's very interesting. And it's not like, I guess, not like traditional appointed actuary work. It's a bit different, but so exciting.
Yeah. Do you feel like the learning curve is very steep for projects like KPMG?
Yeah, like there's so many different projects out there. So I've been working on this one for some time, but there's so many projects I haven't worked on that I want to work on. And I think what is just constant is the set of skills you take to each job, because each job has a different set of circumstances, different client, different things you'll be doing. So so much to learn.
Yeah. So what about you, Jordan?
Yeah, so I had a whole different range of jobs going on, but one that sort of springs to mind is one that you wouldn't really think that we do. And if I can just paint the picture, so it says if you get injured and perhaps you're in a road accident or something like that, and you can't pay for your medical bills, but you need to, you maybe have a legal case and you need to have scans and things like that done that then will be used in a legal case, and you obviously need to have maybe a surgery or something like that, but you can't pay for that, really. You don't have the money, but hopefully you're going to win your case, and then you're going to be able to pay money from the winnings. The middleman there is a company that we do some work for, and they sort of finance people's medical bills and things like that while they're in a legal case, and then they will take some pay from a cut of the winnings of that case. So it's not really, while I work in the life actuarial team, it's not life insurance or anything like that, but we apply our skills to value their book of receivables. So they will have a future flow of money coming in that they expect from all different cases that are going to be closing. So cases might be closing now, they've been open for the last 10 years, or when do we expect this case to close? How much money do we expect to make? And that's a value that we have to value for them, and then that has to go on their balance sheet. So that's quite a different sort of project that I work on, and I have to do that every 6 months for this client, and I find that really interesting. So it's a nice little piece that we do, and I know that client quite well, and because we're doing it every 6 months, we've got a good relationship, and it's something a bit different. So yeah, that's one that I enjoy.
Sounds amazing. So what are the tools and technical skills that you two have had to use for these kind of projects at KPMG?
So I would make sure you're very you use Excel as much as you can. So that's most of what I do each day is work through Excel. But there's definitely a lot of scope to be using other software such as R and SAS and Python. Those skill sets definitely will come in handy and look great if you do have the ability to use any of those software too. Obviously, being able to put reports together and documents like PowerPoints and things like that definitely will come in handy too. So those are the programs that I'm using on a daily basis. And I would say if you're going to focus on any use Excel as much as you can.
Yeah, so what about the soft skills and whatnot? Do you reckon that's something you utilize a lot on a daily basis?
Sure. Yeah, that's right. So even just being part of, even just working while you're working, you're developing your soft skills. So we talked about having part-time jobs through uni or getting involved in different societies and events and things like that will help to develop your soft skills. Then also while you're working and on the job, you just interacting with other members of your team or calling clients and emailing clients, things like that. That's all developing your soft skills, and that's definitely in the consulting world something that's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. So what about you, Clemance? So what other tools and technical skills you had to use for your job?
Just following on Jordan's point first, I think one of the first things I learned at work is how to send a good email, because I have a tendency to put too much information in, and so the person reading is like, well, what do you want from me? So learning how to write a good email is something to learn. But definitely I do use a little of Excel as well. But I would say when you graduate uni, don't be too fussed about like having these technical skills a lot. You do learn a lot on the job. You learn it quite fast as well. You pick it up. Besides Excel, I'm using SQL a lot right now.
Oh yeah.
I've used a bit of R and VBA, but at the moment I'm also working a lot on a software called Tableau. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of it. It's sort of like an interactive data visualization software. So that's something that I've picked up on the job. I didn't do any programming at uni. And so something you kind of learn as you go. A lot of people ask me like, what language should I learn? I don't think it really matters. I think it's good to have one, and I believe it's once you sort of are familiar, one that's quite adaptable to pick up other software programming languages as you go. But yeah, it's definitely a good skill to have at university. But don't be too sad if you don't have those skills.
So you learn quite a lot of programming languages on the job, hey?
I think it depends on what job you're working with, and maybe the preferences of your manager or what was done in the past. So yeah, it just depends.
And if you have a desire to learn a particular language that maybe that's on the job or while you're at uni, there's always people you can reach out to that have done it, and at our work there's training and things like that you can do. So just put your hand up and get involved with it.
Yeah.
So what is the work culture like at KPMG? Do you like it there? Like the other people great?
Yeah, sort of as I've touched on in some other questions, the work culture is very collaborative. So when you're each sort of piece of work you're doing, you're in a smaller team or a larger team, and you're trying to work maybe with other consultants, or you're working with a manager or a few other people in your team, and everyone's there to help each other out and sort of lend advice or reach out, if you've got questions. So it's definitely collaborative and encouraging people to grow their skills. So try to put you on different jobs and develop different skills so that you're more prepared for whatever piece of work comes in the future. That's the part of the work culture that I definitely enjoy. We have a big team here in overall, but in Melbourne we're quite small, so we're a bit of a tight-knit family down in Melbourne, but there's a big team overall. So we have calls with the whole team and do sort of social things with the Sydney team online as well. Yeah.
And
so,
what is the
Clemance is our social coordinator, so you can talk more about that.
We are a smaller team in Melbourne, but we have our fun. But yeah, in terms of like actual work, I guess the size of the team and how you work depends on, I guess, the project. And there's lots of learning opportunities. We have lots of like lunch and learn sessions or just general training sessions, and like picking up different skills. And there's definitely the things you want to work on. Definitely you can put your hand up and be like, oh, I want to work on this. And we are definitely supported in that kind of way. In terms of social oh, sorry. We do have social events every now and then. So we sort of sit in life insurance, but we have like also general insurance, super claims, and financial risk management. So sort of like all big family. So we try and like get together sometimes, and we have join the city team and some of their social events. So it's quite nice working in a big team and also a small team at the same time. So I do have fun at work, so it's nice.
So now that you two are taking exams, do you feel like you have a lot of support from KPMG and your fellow employees to help you during this process?
Yeah, for sure. So everyone that works in our team is either doing their exams or they've done their exams. So they just know exactly what it's like and know just how challenging it can be working and studying. So definitely everyone's very understanding and supportive of that. There's a structured sort of arrangement at our workplace where you'll be grouped together with other people that are studying your subject, and you'll be given mentors that that you'll be able to go to, and usually we'll set up sort of meetings maybe weekly throughout this semester that we're studying in, and catch up, ask them questions, or have them maybe provide little learning sessions for us, things of that nature. There's those study support sessions that we have. We also have study leave. So as you can imagine, it's quite challenging working sort of the 9 to 5 at a business like KPMG or another insurer, and then also studying every other waking hour. So it's good to have some study days where you can just not have to think about work and can just spend that day focusing on your exams. So, and anyone, even if it's not your study mentor, as I said, everyone's been through it and they know what it's like. So just talking to anyone about sort of getting tips from them on how you can improve your studying, what they did, or what sort of subjects they studied, and how they went about their exam technique and things like that is all helpful, and you can tap into that knowledge, which is really good thing about studying while working.
Yeah,
it's great to have that support structure, and like the study mentors are there to help and also keep you accountable, so you don't not study. But it's just great to be able to like ask questions when you're stuck and have like fellow study people with you to sort of motivate you along the way.
Yeah. And I guess it's one of the benefits of working at a company with like a dedicated actuarial division, right? Because they have like a structured support system for that.
Yeah.
So back to the topic of application, how did you go about different stages of the application process, and any tips that you wish to advise to our student members on this topic?
I think it's what Clemance said before about just applying, and every time you get knocked back, it's another learning experience. Every interview you do, you'll be able to walk out after it and go, okay, maybe if I get asked this question again, I would say this next time. Maybe I was a bit too nervous in that case, and I was stumbling or whatever it might be. And you go to the next one, and then you're better that next time. Then you go to the next one, you're better that next time. So maybe you don't get the first one, maybe you get knocked back 30 times or more like I did, and you eventually get the job. So don't be disheartened if you do, don't hear back from someone, or you do go to an interview and you don't end up getting the job or the internship or the graduate position. It's all about just learning how to, because you'll go for more interviews, not just graduate positions, but later on when you're working, and it's going to be still nerve-wracking then. So just, the more experience and exposure you get is definitely going to help.
Yeah, so on top of that, so what preparation techniques or materials did you use to succeed? Like on top of, I guess, learning from past experiences?
Yeah, well, when I went on interviews, I was just trying to be as natural as possible. So I think what the interviewers are looking for is probably above all, can I work with this person? Can I see myself working on a project and collaborating with this person, and because by the time you maybe get to an interview, already provided your resume and they know sort of what you've studied, and obviously if you're doing actuarial, you're pretty bright and you've probably got some good marks. So that's the first step. And then once you get to the interview process, just being yourself and just it's really just like a casual conversation. They'll ask you questions, but just try and, you know, get the conversation going, and then you can get a feel for whether you like, you know, what the interviewer, and maybe there's a couple of interviewers. In my case, at KPMG, had a couple of people interviewing me. What the sort of culture is, you can sort of glean it from that, and they sort of get an idea from you whether you'll be someone that will fit in that culture, and you can get an idea of whether you think you'll fit in with their team.
Yeah. And I know it's been a few years now, but Clemance, do you have any tips from when you applied?
Yeah, so as I said before, start early. Whether or not be like, you know, first year, second year, penultimate, last year, whatever, just keep applying. The more you do it, the better you get at it. And so like, I would say just apply to everything, even if it's like a job, like you're like, oh, I don't really think they'll choose me or they pick me where I fit. I think apply anyway, because you don't really have anything to lose. I mean, the worst case is you'll get rejected. We all get rejected. Or maybe they won't respond, but it's still an opportunity for you to get familiar with the project, and because it's really nerve-wracking, especially when you go in for interviews. I remember my first interview, I was like, oh, I don't know what's going on, I don't answer this question. But you know, the more you do it, the better you get at it. And think about it this way, so like when you're applying for your dream job, then you'll be very confident and you'll know what to do, and also you'll find that the more you do it, you realize to kind of ask similar questions. It might not be exactly the same, but you can still take the same examples or the same stories through and carry it through into like different questions. And it is a very long process. I mean, you have to, like, you know, answer the online questions and do the aptitude tests, and it's really long. It's very time consuming. But the more you do it, the better you get at it. So definitely keep applying.
Yeah, good advice.
So do you have any suggestions for some of the ways university students can best prepare themselves when applying for these internship or graduate roles?
Yeah, I would say back to the point of just talking to other people, and, you know, whether you're getting involved in social committees, things like that, just sort of talking through different points. And even when you're, say, in a group project at university, when you're able to talk to different people and in your group and discuss problems and things like that, you can maybe have a group interview. I had a couple of group interviews, and that's the sort of thing you're doing in there. So trying to take experiences that you might just think are normal, like say a group assignment at uni, or just working at your shift at McDonald's, and trying to bring those skills and into your interview. There's definitely a lot more that will transfer into an interview than you might think originally. So just having to think about that, and yeah, just have some confidence, because you will have those experiences that you will be able to bring to the interview. You just might not know it.
Yeah, definitely. And on top of that, some employers also have highlighted knowledge about the industry as something that university students often lack when they apply for graduate roles. Do you have any advice on this for actuarial students who want to improve their industry knowledge?
Yeah, I think it's a good point. Actually, in my interview for KPMG, I was asked a question along these lines, and it was about naming some insurers, and I just went blank, and I could only name one or two. So don't be disheartened. Yeah, as I said before, you will be nervous in interviews and things like that. But as long as they can see that, you know, it was nerves and things like that. So I mean, the industry knowledge thing, you will probably get asked about it. So it's good to have that, and not draw a blank like I did.
Yeah,
that's funny. I haven't heard that story before, John, because I did exactly the same thing. I just went blank. I just froze.
I wasn't really expecting it either, because, you know, you think of the normal interview questions, and that's sort of something that, you know, I thought was maybe not going to come out, because it was maybe a bit more basic. But it's something you need to know, and it's, if you've got some industry knowledge, it's definitely going to help you. My industry knowledge still now is not, you know, as good as it could be. Like, I'm still learning all the time about different stakeholders in the industry. So yeah, whether it's just reading the news or going to different events and hearing what sponsors have to say, it all helps. And if you've got that knowledge, you can use it definitely in interviews.
Yeah.
And I reckon going to networking events is a great idea and a great opportunity for you to learn about the industry. Like, when I was in my first year, I didn't even know who the Big Four were. Like, I've never heard of them before. So like, and when you go to networking events, you sort of get to meet kind of like-minded people, or people also interested in actuarial or whatever, and you can make friends with them and like sort of explore different opportunities there are, and like let each other know, oh, like this place is opened for like job opportunities. Let's apply together, and you have someone there to do it with you. It's actually quite fun, and like you can motivate each other.
Yeah.
And like you can also sort of kind of work out what you want out of it. Like, you know, do you want to be in consulting, or do you want to be in a corporate environment? Do you want to work in a bigger firm or smaller firm? And like, so kind of learn stuff, not just for like interview or application, but like also for yourself. Like, what do you want for your career?
Yeah. So apart from networking events, do you think there are other sources for students to gain this knowledge? Like reading online articles or watching videos, things like that?
Yeah, definitely. Wherever you can get it from is going to be helpful. Like, yeah, just listening to the news. Like, the sort of last year's Banking Royal Commission was all over the news, and was probably something that maybe at the time interviewers might have had a question on, and being prepared for something like that would have been pretty important. So there's always things going on in the news, and yeah, where you're reading articles, like you say, or listening to podcasts and things like that. I think it's all helps. Yeah.
So what are some of the exciting changes happening right now in the typical workplace of an actuary that you've noticed?
Well, I guess it's a pretty unusual time at the moment with the coronavirus and things like that. It's going to be changing how a lot of people work, and in terms of working from home and physically, but also the types of work that we're doing and how people interact, things like that. So that's quite interesting, and it's going to pretty much rock most of the industries, and especially when consulting like us, because we work for all different clients. So there's going to be all different problems coming out of it that are going to be coming up. So being able to adapt to those and be open to working through all those problems is something that I think is on the horizon or happening now as we speak, and it's pretty exciting. Well, it's not really exciting that we're going through this, but the opportunities coming out of it and the challenges that we need to work through is something that's that I'm looking forward to working through.
Yeah. And Clemance, you mentioned that you're working with a lot of data in your current project. Do you feel like it's an emerging trend in the industry?
Definitely. I think I remember reading somewhere that data analytics is probably one of the biggest, fastest growing, fields in actuarial. So it's definitely, if you are interested, it's definitely something that you can get involved with. And I've learned a lot of different skills in this job, and I'm still learning. So definitely data is something, because every day we're online and we're generating data, and like if you can use that and utilize that, like things you could do with it. So definitely something to think about.
Yeah. And so lastly, any valuable advice that you wish to pass on to your fellow actuarial students on making the most of their university time and transitioning to the workplace?
Yeah, well, I think if they've gotten this far through the podcast, I think they're pretty dedicated, and I think they're doing the right thing. So I would say, yeah, keep up what you're doing if you are at this point. And just to sort of go back over some of the things we talked about, was basically putting yourself out there, trying to get involved in different whether it be events at university or jobs, part-time jobs, or extracurricular learning, like looking into the industry and things like that. It's all going to help when you transition to the workplace, and also the interviews that you have been going through. So, and other skills like the time management, and saying if that's maybe something that you struggle with at uni, how can you improve that now, and then to when you bring yourself into, say, working, then you've got those skills already. So I think developing those skills is important too.
Yeah, I think get involved. Don't be shy. Put yourself out there. And then most of all, I think enjoy yourself, because uni is only for a few years. Definitely make the most of it while you're at it.
Absolutely. So if you could go back and give a piece of advice to your university self, what would you tell them to do? Would you just give the same advice like you said just then? Basically to set yourself up for a strong future career. Yeah,
I would say don't be disheartened about getting knocked back from different jobs. The right one will come if you are passionate about it and you're working towards it. The right role will come. So university life is something that you look back on and you definitely do enjoy, and you wish that maybe it went for longer. So don't take it for granted, and just try and enjoy every minute of it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. I think I mentioned before, I was so desperate to get out of uni in my last year, but like if I could go back and tell myself, just slow down, enjoy the moment, because it doesn't last forever. Make more friends, enjoy it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's your heart.
So that's it for our questions. So thank you so much, Jordan and Clemance, for the interesting conversation we've just had, especially during a busy time like this. And also thank you to our audience for listening. We hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and we're able to learn from the valuable advice that Jordan and Clemance have shared. We personally learned a lot from your stories as well. So thank you, guys.
Yeah, a big thank you to Jordan and Clemance. We hope to see you at a future event soon. And in the meantime, take care and bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.